Alrighty. Live again. Went back over my video. Fairly happy. But then I have to immediately address Israel. I would extend thank you to the judge that allowed this on realization of the larger strategic conceptual example and the power therein. Once seen from an aerial view, and you can see that there are indeed rights in this country, extraordinary rights that should be celebrated, I suppose. And now we expect a full written explanation from every single participant as to their explanation of the complex interactions that are leading to this conflict taking place in Gaza. For some reason, there is a perceived agreement that identifying a race known as the Jews as an extraordinary element in societal arrangement, an extraordinary element, is exactly the negative conceptual thought structure that led to the atrocities of the Holocaust, and has led to this moment where the only way we can sort out what on any other border would just be a geographical dispute. The only way to come to a position of conversation between the elements of this hatred is to sacrifice people for 2 years and film it and project it across the world, including on, and I believe, perpetually scarring one of our most prized monuments. The thought of me hanging an Israeli flag on Sydney Harbour Bridge is horrific. The thought of displaying a Star of David on Sydney Harbour Bridge during the Holocaust, I'd say, is a great shame that Australians carry. I'll have to look after this, whether that was done. Millions of people died in World War II, with the culmination of the most extreme, the most horrific element of that war being the Holocaust. The idea of Zionism is a complicated one. And it's the ultimate bait and switch, really, by the Jewish people, forced into extreme measures, obviously based on the Holocaust attempt by Nazi Germany. An element and an organization whose DNA still extends, its influence still extends well into our psyches. comments like, "Why?" or the Jewish in media, or this thing. It's like, yeah, why? They invented it. They're trying to explain how crazy this is. It will never stop at the Jews. This is the reason. This is what the Jewish people do. They stand watch there. And I think they deserve to deserve isn't the right word. My focus is always being driven immediately from my concern on influence over my children's minds. Basically, it does not break down to a religious, tribal, national, race-based equation. Ever. My connection to Judaism was never really made clear to me. But the small amount of it that I found inspired me to search out. And so perhaps an even more powerful example of exposure to it. And without that, I would be not doing any of this. I'd probably be drinking, having, you know what I mean? Like meandering. I found like Judaism led me to Christianity. And vice versa. They are symbiotic. It's horrific what's taking place there. But under the circumstances, the Israeli people, the Israeli armed forces, the IDF, they're not preparing for they're not colonizing Gaza. They're preparing for the sequel to the Holocaust. A sequel of the Holocaust is never, ever going to take place. And I think this is where you have to really understand what that would do to a population, to a tribe. So to there's an aspect of DNA there that sits there. If that's rattled, and actually the best way in Australia, one of the best ways to discover this would be to speak to an Aboriginal person. I think. But then it's, in a lot of ways, it's far worse than that, because the Aboriginal mindset and their presence on the land was so interconnected, so in the moment, so disconnected from maintenance of historic traditions, civilized practices like this. That what you're saying? This is a hyper futuristic version of law and order. This is pretty far removed from sticks in the sand. Something that I have also spent a fuckload of time thinking about and preparing for. But it doesn't, the problem is that will never take place. And I would more than likely lose. But by coming to that meeting place, we both improve. That right there is the relationship between the British Empire and the Aboriginal people of all nations, of all families, of all creeds, the Indigenous First Nations people of the entire country. That flag on that bridge is so much more dangerous than that opera house that it's not even funny. That opera house is our sandpit and our stick fight. Everything else every structure is never above repute. I hope I said that properly. Repute. Oh, fuck. Sorry. The swearing was always there. It's just these things were written down and dictated. Anyone doing this before, they were swearing. But someone was dictating for them, and then they would perhaps read it back. But most times, they wouldn't read it back. Someone would just read it on paper. This is coming from the Opera House. If you want to understand that, I always thought, I might sing in the Opera House one day. I didn't think I'd do this. That's weird. I guess it's really got to be explained what that Sydney Harbour Bridge is. Now, my guess is that it's like a drawbridge. But it goes the other way. I'll have to look. I'll have to find where the airport is. I'm roughly saying it, but my geography to do with Sydney is just not good enough. Because although it's like, yes, everyone knows the Sydney House, Opera House, and the bridge, it's like, I don't know anything else about it. You know, Sydney's population, although it is a collection of foreigners. I don't know whether I'm happy in the long run, except for the example of at least being able to hold this within some type of aspect of communication within the upper echelons of Commonwealth relations. To which I really need to start getting explanations as to what exactly is going on in that judicial system, and who is wagging who. And I'll admit that this is getting up there with the tip of my perceptual understanding. If it boils down to, because it was in the interests of the king's decision-making process to witness a conversation such as mine I'm undertaking, held in comparison with, I suppose, the equally efficient process of logistically negotiating 50,000 people to walk across the Sydney Harbour Bridge, then I'd say that is a direct act of war from top to bottom by the administration of that organisation. With the police holding a very strange, and the political class, to what else is involved in that? Has the judge allowed this to expose an unelected, not public? This is all dispersed. Apart from this Lee's character, who is this Mr. What is he representing? This identity of Palestine would not be these tactics would not be acceptable by any other region in Australia. So why are they being? Why? And that's because it's not Palestine. It's a false argument. It's a straw man of a flag. And we should know because we put that fucking flag there. So the only thing that it can be is an exposure of a very organised, very confident invasiary force on Australian soil that has not made itself clear, that has not presented a leader, to my knowledge. They should have been put in front of me by now. that is not presenting valid explanation as to their continuation of promotion of a failed state, a zombie state being held artificially alive by what can only be described as an extremist religious organization with almost zero front-facing representation of that. Hamas is an extreme Islamic group. The Palestine is a majoritively Muslim country, Islamic country. This individual fronting this walk across the bridge, he does not look like a Muslim to me. He does not look like an Islamic person. Now, I guess that this is part of it. So this is to assume this is a conversation because he's empathizing with this group. But this group has absolutely no representation. Israel, on the other hand, has a giant Star of David on its flag. Israel is a private property arrangement between the combined Jewish people of the world and the British Empire. Palestine is the same with the Islamic. If the Islamic global community cannot even put forward a representative, then what is it? It's a cult where the cult leader died a long time ago. I suppose you can celebrate that. Just exactly right after you all surrender. We've learnt to isolate cult leaders, to expose them, to get them out, to do different fucking things. It's like there's an entire fucking structure that's all very visible, all very accessible. And you may say, oh, well, ours is the same. I say, yes, but not here. So the Islamic influence on Australia is a franchise. Islam on Australian soil, including a flag representing the balance of it can only be said that flag in this current day, on this day, on that bridge, can only be representing the global Islamic community's failure to get their people out of there. A radical exposure that they will never stop. They will sacrifice their people, majoritively their women and children, while their men try and influence the women and the susceptible, the gullible men of our systems. Wow. Wow. On what representation, what structures? We allow Moss because it seems to be about a 50-50 take. And we have a similar thing with that. We had a similar confrontation during this period between, I represent, I guess, the Church of England, and between the Catholics. And that has been well and truly worked out. Civilly, in a far different way. This is this, I guess, was the last resort for the Jewish people to prove the absurdity, to drag it out long enough to show the whole thing. It's always been this. It's always a bloated, spoilt, entitled group of wankers holding their phones on a bridge. Holding the entire country hostage, yet again. How many times now? But this individual leading this on every news channel, he can't walk into any fucking pub in the entire country now. And drink a VB. So who is that fucking guy? He wants to be known as the most successful protester ever because he went to the Supreme Court and overrode police and the general desires, I'm guessing, of Sydneysiders. They've had enough disruption. I'm guessing this is the last that they want. Unless they've been lulled into the concept that perpetuating this defeat, dragging it out. There's processes. We've identified that the Jewish people surrounded by Islamic countries. Not all of them are hostile, but a lot of them are. And then it's like this is the global coin toss, like discussion about whether it's a good idea to kill all the Jews. Is everyone now well acquainted to their own shortcomings of their own genes or their own heritage or their own people, so to say, their own nation, their own flag? Is everybody in this argument, is everyone in this discussion now well acquainted with that and what that means? The Islamic mythology is on paper. Say you were doing this as an experiment on rats. Notice what I just said. Say you were doing an experiment on rats. Then Islamic fucking religious theory would exterminate inevitably, if allowed, if all the rules were off the fucking table, then scientifically, like certainly, they would be successful. Now, what you've got to understand is that is if there isn't a better description for a psychotic murderer than that. So the baseline argument between Muhammad and Jesus is Muhammad was a psychotic murderer. And Jesus was a psychotic genius who killed himself. The only way, at least in this country, which is at this moment, I guess we've got some attention, the only way that individual, Mr. Lees, would have shifted the result of what's happening between Palestine and Israel is if he killed himself on that fucking bridge. If he sat by himself on that bridge and killed himself. That's it. The moment will pass by him, and he will not do that. No one will. A volunteer in a conflict that signs up to defend a country, as long as they are adequately aware, they make that decision the minute they step into that uniform. To kill themselves on that bridge in that moment. If you choose to lead up a revolutionary force in this country based on a religious conceptual fucking war being held in artificial perpetuity by two stupid fucking flags, you will understand the depths that the Jewish people will go to defend themselves. And then the only question that you have to ask is, why? Why do they have to do that? You can say that we're sitting on Aboriginal land here. Now, the one difference that I can say with absolute certainty is that if there was a genocide here of Aboriginal people, they did not. It was quick. It's happened every other place. It didn't annihilate. And it is attempting to both protect the heritage, the traditions of the Aboriginal people, and to adequately defend them however we can, to make, if they wish to make a step into our way of life. And also, and what I believe also is that we should encourage all citizens of Australia to at least experience theirs, most importantly of all, the Aboriginal people. Israel doesn't have the same ownership over that region that we as Australians have. Israel, every Jewish person fighting for Israel right now, contributing to the protection of the Jewish people as a whole, all of them collectively are on that cross that Jesus was on every fucking day during this shit. There isn't a fervour that can manifest against the global Muslim community that can match the anti-Semitic fervour, because it is so far away. It is such an astronomical equation. It is so incredibly difficult to do. So what is the Nazi ideal? What is the anti-Semitic ideal? It's laziness. It's laziness and cowardice. Especially in this country. And I'd say, especially in this state. It's not the fucking answer. Islam is not the answer to the Aboriginal people. Islam is the end of the Aboriginal people. Islam is the collection of Aboriginal people and the herding and the migration, all chasing a prophet that, or their own Charlie Manson that died fucking a long time ago. At least to a significant portion of extreme Islamists. Islam will be taken seriously again when there is a significant amount of canopy over the Middle East. And I swear this on anything you put in front of me. That is the only job of the Muslim people. Before one rivet, before one girder or beam was installed in the Sydney Harbour Bridge, there were thousands and thousands and thousands of trees planted, stones moved, like procedural, organisational structures, law courts, churches, cathedrals. Surveying, geographical, this is the scale that is expected. What better project for a Saudi prince or something than to create a home for the Palestinian people? And why isn't it already done? Come on. How do we carry on with whatever the survivors are of this horrific event? Kind of being perpetually held as like, because Palestine is not, the problem is that Palestine is a created arrangement, and Israel is clearly also a created arrangement, but backed on the entire weight of Judaism. But there isn't a projection of that by the global Islamic community. It's too confused. It's too polluted. It's not about the money you spend on it. Unless that Palestinian flag that you're waving on our bridge has the Islamic symbol on it, it is false. And perhaps that's the moment we're in. Perhaps that's when the global Islamic community realise that we just got some guy to walk a fucking colonial fucking flag across our colonial fucking monument on our colonial soil, all peacefully, harmoniously, without having to fucking fly hang gliders in, rape, kill, and burn anyone. That this is our system, and as it is exposed, the truth. The United Kingdom is the United Kingdom. It insinuates a king. And what is the king? The king is the head representative of the Church of England. Let's get these other make-believe flags together. What is Palestine? Well, it's a collection of Arabic and tribal people that emerged there and built a place, and its basic identity, as in comparison to Israel in this major conflict, would be a religious fervor for Islam. Right. Why doesn't it have that on its logo then, if that's clearly what is going on? Because it is a stealth bomber. They turned a playing field into a stealth bomber. For religious extremists. Oh, shit. Okay, that makes sense. And why do we walk the flag with a white guy looks, could be me fucking cousin, walk across the bridge holding a created flag identity of a Palestinian state? Well, it's to say that we fucking own that state. Not Hamas. Not Islam. And then what do we prove in that? We prove that there is an Islamic war against the United Kingdom, against the British Empire. Why? Why when you were getting refuge here? What's going on those Saudi yachts? The Protestant ideal is hardworking, dedication, self-sacrifice. It's all in our book. We know how to play that game too. We're a peaceful religion, and we can fucking prove it. So the fact that this discussion between the highest lawyer and the Supreme Court, New South Wales, and I happen to be here doing this as well. The entire city has been shut down. Our national monument, I just had a created colonial British Empire flag creation as a hotel for the Islamic portion of this. And it's like, what do we find out? We find out that terrorists, religious extremists, are going to do what they're going to do. Why was there not submission to put the Islamic symbol on the Palestinian flag? Because you cannot. So why are there millions of people being killed in Palestine? It basically boils down to Israel is doing a job for half of the Islamic world, I would guess. A horrific job in exchange for ownership over their homeland. There could be nothing that would prove their loyalty anymore. There'd be nothing that would prove their dedication to their religion. There isn't a surrounded Jewish world of actual violence. Yes, you could say, well, these Islamic states, they feel surrounded by our media. But what is the overall moral of our media is to project a good moral foundation. Or it used to be. It's gotten very, very messy. And this can only be best shown by our Prime Minister's assumed straying away from the religious ideals that the country was founded on. He has a difficult job, doesn't he? He has to appease. We have Islamic people here of both sides of that conflict. So there is a united Jewish community, almost. It's gotten out of hand because it is a ridiculous thing that the Jewish people have been expected to hold. And you ask, why Israel, why the Zionist thing? Because if they weren't doing it there, you would have already killed us all. And that's where I come in. I've proved that. And lots of other people have proved it as well. Anti-Semitism it's like an incurable. No, I'm not going to say it's incurable. It's completely curable. It is a devastating scourge on your mind. It will fucking poison you so badly. And I think if there's one piece of advice for every Australian Muslim, right, coming from I don't even know if I'm Jewish. I don't know. I don't know anything about it. You could put me in fucking truth serum and do shit. I don't fucking know. I know a little bit, not enough. Right? But in the minds of most Australians, you get a fucking Arab and it's like they don't fucking know the difference. So what is going on in a way is also a negative exposure of the Jewish community. Because the Jewish people in Israel, you can probably fucking jump the fence. Do you know what I mean? And this is a discussion that is immediate, where you're like, well, So there seems to be a Middle Eastern problem. Obviously, there's a problem in the Middle East. Oh. The Middle East is where this fucking train left from. Okay? And the religious arguments are taking place on every fucking carriage, from the engine to the caboose. I'm glad I got to use that methodology. A particular manifestation of a particularly German, particularly Nazi concentration camp arrangement got particularly close to wiping out the Jewish population of an incredibly large area. 6 million people. From a region that had contributed to that region. So much so that they got exposed as the cause. When we compare the Holocaust to the murdering of the Tsar by the Bolsheviks, the Bolsheviks don't continue on because there is only one royal family. And the scourge of communism caused untold fucking hell for that region, which Vladimir Putin has done a fairly good job at recovering from and then defending and protecting and isolating away from our nonsense. But that was a discussion on the organisation, a baseline one that's very old, so it's still to be taken very seriously in it. And I think they really paid the price for that. The Germans gave them hell. Then they gave themselves hell. The Americans gave them hell. To put it fucking unfortunately plainly, it's like to beat that into them. Because I think particularly from the Russians, see, we can celebrate a Russian structure of monarchy, if that was to re-emerge, which it must have done. I'm quite happy to have a conversation there. And, if we say that, well, Stalin was an attempted Tsar, failed, and then gone, so there's been a shift and back. It's like we're in the same game. We're on the same court. In that arena, Australia and Russia. But the idea of wiping out a race, the Jewish people, holy shit. A royal family, a king, a queen, whatever it is. Charles, he makes decisions, kind of. He kind of holds a frame. He holds an image, more importantly, and just gets on doing the things. So the idea of monarchy is that there's already established his heir, and so it gets really crazy if you try and take the whole family out. If that was to happen now, there would be all-out fucking global war. That is not what happened in Russia. But when you compare that to the Jewish race or Israel, which is the geographical representation of the Jewish race, the destruction of Israel, the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, means the genocide of the Jews attempted again, will just create hell. As soon as it was even uttered, and it's like, we can't see it again. We've seen it in universities. We've tolerated it in all these places. But to see it on our bridge as a scarecrow, as a straw man, without the crucial element of the Islamic symbol on that flag, well, it exposes who's got fucking skin in the game and who is a creation, who is an automaton, who is a robotic entity disguised as the Führer. There is no Führer and there is no king. There's Nazis now. Hitler did what Hitler did. There is no Hitler, so there are no Nazis. There's just Nazism. There's just anti-Semitism. They're still killing. There is genocide. That genocide is not being undertaken by Israel. It's been undertaken by the entire globe. By the entire combined sales of vapes, alcohol, internet, pokie machines, petrol, grain, gold, copper, zinc, diamonds, weddings, wedding singers, guitar strings. Everything that isn't going and fucking defending the fucking Palestinian people or building them a new homeland. So there's a global genocide by every race, every citizen, everyone, except the individuals in Gaza. It can only come from an Islamic state, not the Islamic state, from an Islamic state as a solution to house the Palestinian people. That is the only solution to prop up and inflict this type of savagery. Because what you're not getting the news is that there is an extended global, less intense war going on in every sphere away from that stadium of horror in Gaza. And if you're not doing this, then you're sure as hell not fighting a war of fucking virtuosity. If you don't wake up every fucking day and contribute to something that will at least fucking get this fucking sorted, and that does not mean promotion, that means structurally, because there is no negotiation apart from the rehoming of the Palestinian people that will be acceptable. Palestine can't be forever scarred as the Colosseum of global fucking monstrous fucking iPhone connected extravagance, like death of the Roman Empire. And I guess we just landed at the explanation. Yeah. Less than a year ago, when Pope Francis died, the Roman Empire died with him. The Colosseum has grown a bit. It's known as Gaza. Everyone is present here today and hideously exposed to their monstrous self-indulgence, facing their inner disgusting fucking murderous demon right in their fucking eyes. Unless you are doing this. What keeps a people together for as long as the Jewish people have been together? God does. They're not mincing words when they say that. God does. I would love a census of the Australian people for them to answer one question. What do you think of when I say the word coat hanger? Which is what proverbially our Sydney Harbour Bridge is known as. Unfortunately for me, I instantly think of an abortion. I think of an illegal abortion being undertaken with a coat hanger. And now I think of a bunch of Nazis on the Sydney Harbour Bridge. With iPhones. While children are starving in Gaza. I can only summarise it. I don't think God likes abortions or Nazis. I think he will not stop showing this in this high definition extravaganza of who knows. Until the message is firmly held, is firmly accepted. It's really on what the question is. Okay, let's give this Mr. Lee's character an olive branch and say, well, hopefully they've got our attention now. Where are they going? Where are the Palestinian people going? You're not expecting the Jewish people, after having to fucking prove their fucking religious faith by being surrounded by their enemies, on a little dot in the Middle East. Once again, do not forget how this started. To reenact Exodus, the real Exodus, where tribes of Arabs were trying to kill them the entire time. Because don't forget, the Jews were the slaves of Egypt. They've done pretty well. They've done pretty well. And when they say slaves, it means like the employees of Egypt, really. But Egypt got out of hand. So the Jews are the original trade union. Did you know that? Israel is the original trade union fucking office. It's the original Labor Party, the original. Without that, there's nothing. There is Egypt, which, let me know anytime you want, and I can fucking show you the plans for the fucking pyramid I want to build on Antarctica. And take that seriously for a moment and go, maybe we should build a fucking pyramid on Antarctica. This guy sounds like he's got a fucking plan, and we'll be in Egypt. But if you don't want to do that, then it's important to have organizations like Israel, which, as I said, the original trade union, to defend the retarded fucking suicidal fucking desires and sacrifice desires of a portion of the Islamic population of the world. That is a strange arrangement. I'm not into the fucking details of that arrangement. I'm horrified just the same as you are. And I don't hold the land rights, the deeds, anything. I can simply just observe and comment. I don't think any of this should be going on. But I do know, and I will swear on any fucking Bible, that if you were to remove the Israel, as claimed by these genocidal Islamists, disguising themselves as victims, then that would destroy the world. The Jews have booby-trapped the world. I'm sorry to fucking tell you. And can you blame them? Can you fucking blame them? We celebrate things like Custer's Last Stand, all these victories. That's a big one. Yeah, I know that down here in Australia. We celebrate Ned Kelly. We celebrate the Eureka Stockade. The Eureka Stockade is Israel. It's the Jewish people. It's like if you want to feel like a Jew in Australia right now, do you have a Southern Cross tattoo? Holy shit. It's the same. And that's not a thing to say, well, oh yeah, tattoo removal. It's like, yeah, wear that fucking proudly. There's a Southern Cross in the fucking air if you have a look at night. If you're not in the city, that is. And perhaps if a few of these fucking Nazis wandered out of fucking Sydney for a little bit, got off the meth, got out from the fucking lights and the neons and had to wander around, they'd start realising how they look right now. I think. I don't know whether there are still portions of Germany that celebrate their Nazism so covertly. More than likely, yeah. It's understandable in Germany. Not really here. See, there's war, there's propaganda, then there's war. And to hold the button, or a button, on war is it's a pretty nasty thing. Now, the war that you're trying to stop is already started. It's already going on. You only have one solution. You have to get there and fix it. Or, like I said, get the people out. The war you're bringing here means that you're pushing me into something that I have to press a button, which puts lives in danger, which puts families in danger, which potentially runs into generations of traumatic fucking repair work that I've been tirelessly trying to contribute to the last round of that. Instigated by the same concept. So I don't know how better to explain it. I'll end with it's like we had an argument here in Western Australia about a bare knuckle boxing event to take place in whatever. And this is a discussion between the Premier and our Premier and our opposition leader, Basil Zemplis, had a little discussion about whether a bare knuckle boxing event should take place. That is Australian. That is Western Australia. having a global conversation as to whether a losing terrorist group has created a sacrificial castle, or rented castle, to try and kill all the Jews in Israel, and, let's be honest, kill all the fucking Jews in the world, and combined again with the Nazis and created, it's like, what the fuck is going on? And so the Middle East is majoritively Islamic. I'm not very happy with on average, not uniformly, but on average, with the negotiation techniques of Islamic people as a whole. I didn't say I want to genocide the Islamic people. I said I'm not very happy with the negotiation techniques on average as a whole of the Islamic global community. I can't see, has there been an attempt? Why are we dropping food in there? Get the people out. When you take hostages on a population that was attempted to be completely annihilated, defending their only fucking patch of land that they have recognized, association with, you compare that to Christian. It's like Christians, we're doing all right. And then you force them into this arrangement, because this is their aircraft carrier. Israel is the Jewish aircraft carrier. Now, Palestine is not, or maybe it was. Palestine is a Islamic aircraft carrier, basically. But you don't fill an aircraft carrier with women and children. You certainly don't ship food to an aircraft carrier if you can rescue the people and get them off there. If it's sinking and they're going to drown, you get the people out. They can walk across the line, but they can't. I can only estimate that it's to do with, there is a distribution differential. So we have a United Kingdom, we have a Commonwealth, or we did a British Empire, and we have an emperor who would be King Charles. So in that, it's pretty clear. We know who it is. We at least know where to point with that structure. It's all on display. It's all quite accessible. Whereas this arrangement, being covertly Islamic, is, by its example, by the global Islamic community, it's like you don't put women and children on an aircraft carrier in a war. Your Navy was those hang gliders, or your Air Force. You kamikaze pilot. It's like this, and this is what's showing. It's like this same effect of this hospital hostage. It's like the same thing's happening here, not as extreme. I doubt, I fucking hope that we don't have tunnels underneath our hospitals filled with fucking terrorists, because that's going to be a bloody mess. But I doubt it. I really do fucking doubt it. But there is a bleeding into that. There is a slow and steady kind of strolling, and it's the door starting to open to that, and that needs to fucking close. Military ships carry flags. This was perfected by Admiral Lord Nelson, Horatio Nelson. Commanded Union Jacks to be strung at the back of all ships. It's like this was the original Facebook post or Facebook profile picture. So it has been decided by the international Islamic community to sail a population of women and children and extreme, resistance fighters, pirates, basically, into an area and sacrifice it. There's a thing that comes from kamikazes in Japan. Is an ultimate honor, sacrifice. It's worth. That's one thing. But a sacrificial ship country is so fucking horrific. You could say that I've used Western Australia as a sacrificial state, and I didn't come up with that. But yeah, you're right. But not the people, not their lives, maybe the reputation. Not people. It's horrific. And I guess the Christian ideal is that people can be saved from their sins, really. But the Palestinian people have not, at this stage, I'm guessing, have not sinned. The only sin of the Palestinian people is that they, under fear of death, aligned with their captors. And their captors are not Israel. Their captors are Hamas. And the masterminds of that are not present in the discussion. And it is not to be sneezed at to attempt to lift a state from the desert up and to create a military, a government under those circumstances. It is extraordinary, and that is because it is the pride of the Jewish global community. It is their aircraft carrier to defend their entire population, from Nazis. Something that they didn't have during World War II. So it's like if you almost get your entire fucking people, what you're going to, prepare, and they did prepare. Now, perhaps their encroachment displaced people on the line, but it's like, well, but The hotel of Palestine was stacked full of people. And did they put armies there and bases and naval things? No, they put people there with lunatics. Women, children, families, like anyone basically. It's the last chance saloon, I'm guessing, for the Islamic world was Palestine. And that doesn't necessarily mean they're all bad. That means, women and children captured by men were moved there. By men's it's horrific. And now, unfortunately, there's effects. Children at a very young age can be brought into that extremist condition. And that's the problem when it comes to the other Islamic states that won't receive the Palestinians. They've already sent them there. Palestine is I was about to say the Australia, it's not. Palestine is the concentration camp for the Islamic world. And so they're burning their own people in their own concentration camp. It's just that they're making the Jews do it. And it's like you get the real thing is about the Islamic people, the Israeli people in Israel, the Israeli people in Israel, in the IDF. They, like all soldiers of all countries, of all nations, and all they've been asked to do horrific things. And asking them to then continue to live next door to this hotel that is trying to kill them. This region needs to be cleared of Islamic influence for a significant portion of time to allow the Jewish community to recover from their inevitable and enforced Battle of Trafalgar. And then once you understand that this doesn't mean that Israel controls that region, because the Balfour Agreement was between the Great Britain, between the British Empire and those people. And there's as a representative of the Knights Templar, so we protect Christians to visit there. And we have decided that the Israelis have the contract to that place. And why is that? It's because they organized a beautiful nation from the desert, defended it, and at the same time displayed back at us the depths of our horrific human nature. And there will be adequate preparations for Israeli people. They're in a different situation then. It's not an offensive war. It's a defensive war. It is their right to mourn and to secure their region. They've had losses. Every Israeli is under the floorboards. All of them, in their mind. So are the Palestinians, but the difference is that, unfortunately, the Palestinian people were put there by people that aren't. And the same applies to the Israeli people, but the Israeli people do it as their identity to secure. If Palestine falls, the Islamic global community has a sneeze. If Israel falls, the entire world will disintegrate. And with the circumstances surrounding us, with the new technology, my estimation is that we will never, ever, ever come back from that. I'm prepared for that. I'll probably do quite well. It's been a while since I've swung a fucking broadsword. You know what I mean? But if you really want to fucking do that, then do it. But if you don't, then you should start having this conversation of, yeah, why don't they just get him the fuck out of there? Why do they keep feeding him and putting cameras on him and rattling the fence? They're people. They're people. Unfortunately, the reality of a population, if they're cut off and in a war and not prepared for the war, what's about interruption in the signal. I wonder if it's a storm. And I guess I'll respect that and give an adequate allowance to sort this out. All like that grapevine, sort it out. Now, it's a fucking disgrace.